Good morning. This is Tonya. I wanted to go out to Congress. I've tried to get this to you, to Veterans Association administration, to the White House. But remember me, I've read this grievance to you several times. That's in the Constitution at first. I haven't heard from you. Anyway, we lost a friend to our state and our country, Max Cleveland. This was a Magna Carta that I wish to add in his memory. My family name, Tonya Michelle, Many Blessings Jones. To all disabled veterans, to our littlest angels who are sick kids and disabled. This Magna Carta was based on the fundamental rights inspired and formed by the founding fathers of the Declaration of Independence and of the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The thing is it perfect? No. But it was to go in the name of the state of Georgia first and every state thereafter, and be put into one large law, but to add each state on a different page because it should be. The laws are a little different, but what we need to do, and we need to understand, no human is different. Unless they're disabled, then they're a little vulnerable, and that's what we must protect. This is what would have been written, or was written, by Tonya Michelle Jones. Many blessings in the state of Georgia, which was her home state. The state of Georgia's self-reliance of disabled persons to uphold dignity and integration of mainstay living in society. Title 1, the General Provisions, Chapter 1, Basic Rights, Section 1, Title 1. This act shall be cited as a Magna Carta for the disabled persons. It's a Magna Carta because it's based on what our founding fathers did. You understand Magna Carta, what started our laws for the kings. Then Section 2, the Declaration Policy. The endowment of the rights and the privileges for the disabled shall be guided by the following principles. The Fifth Amendment of the United States of America applies to the disabled. That is, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or the property without due process, for shall any state deprive any person of any disability of life, liberty, or property, or be set aside for the life of another. Right to life is in Article 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to life. The right shall be protected by laws. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived or prejudged or prejudiced towards the disabled. To be prejudged is to be prejudiced towards that person. The liberty as used in the Constitution, the freedom from unreasonable restraints, confinement due to the disability. The property, which later became the pursuit of happiness, we must understand, is valuing the disabled, and the exclusion is the devaluing. The transfer should be and is voluntary exchange and is enforceability that the disabled do have the rights to property. The infringement then is a discrimination. The protection of life, liberty, and property is amendment. Each life is based on free decision if defined by the law and the one's liberty that has led the law. One's liberty of ownership of land or other properties are not to be forfeited due to a handicap or selfish-led intent. That means if you set somebody up that's handicapped, they don't catch it, that's on you, not them. They all should have the right to front you and confront you. That's what our Constitution says. It says no law shall override our constitutional rights. Section 2A. The pursuit of happiness, the undeniable rights as referred to in the Declaration of Independence, that each individual, including the disabled, have the rights to make their decisions unless harm to themselves or another. But who determines that? Not one, not the ones against them, but a mediator or someone that's not caught in the scheme of things. The thing is, these individuals are led by experience and the living and have the right to dream, not to be persecuted, devalued, dehumanized for a wheelchair or a missing limb, but to love life. This is to be upheld in quality of the beings alive and being or feeling enslaved, for each to have the extended qualities of life, the right to choose, and not to be limited or nationalized of another. This includes courts, support for all to be set aside for those involved to be judged on the value of the truth and the value of that human being protected. This is beyond simplicity. Understanding each person's needs to be met, to think above the selfish intents and go with the laws and the protection of those that are vulnerable. The key elements of humanity. And this was written, there was something written on the Emory, in the Emory paper, and that's the University of Emory, that the most important things, elements of humanity, is food, safety, and shelter. I added one you guys missed. That's medicine. Sometimes you take our treatments because you think you know, well, you don't. Provided by God. That's our natural rights, isn't it? To be human that give us God-given rights. You treat one, you treat us all. The thing is, Section 1, Title 2, based on the Bill of Rights, Amendment 5, when you arrest the handicapped and the disabled person, make sure the intent's for the law being broken, not for free care services. That's against the law in the state of Georgia and several states. The thing is, those who have you arrested, if it's for false pretenses and for free care, the thing is, I want to put a provision in this law that states that those that bring the false accusation for selfish intents for free care, that the state involved, that the family get together or the person, that they can make their own decisions, they charge $15,000 every 5 minutes, plus the care needed comes from the sale of their property, because you've taken one life. What protection do you now have? None. You have broken the law. Nor shall any person be subject to offense twice, put in double jeopardy of life and limb. You know, when you bring a false charge to put somebody to watch them die, that's double jeopardy, because you're taking a chance of putting them in a cell where they don't get care and don't get what the food they need because of we wanted to watch them rise up. Well, you know what? We hope on the third day, but sometimes they don't rise up. Sometimes they need that care. That's selfish intent, isn't it? That's wrong, and that is double jeopardy. Title 2, Section 2. Arrests that are personal, to give actions that deprive life, liberty, or property with due process of obtaining documents, photos, videos, or witnesses on the defendant's behalf, do interfere with a person's rights. Title 2, Section 3. An infringement is to be filled as an attempted murder based on, there's a Georgia law, OCGA 2010, subsection 1610 and 32, Section 3A, to prevent these from being entered means you didn't do your job as law enforcement on that person's behalf. And guess what that is? That's attempted murder charges, because you held the innocent. What does that say? What is our right? Unreasonable confinement. That's right. Section 3A, to prevent or alter the production of records, documents, that includes videos, in an official proceedings. If the law enforcement arrests you, they better be able to back it, because that's our right. Section 3A, an add-on. Section 3AA now. Any video as evidence withheld or altered is a civil, mental abuse, mental anguish due to a falsehood that led to unlawful incarceration. Section 3B. a false accusation by any person who threatens or causes physical or economic harms to a disabled and or handicapped person, attempted murder charges. From that day, entering in the subsections as well. The thing is, subsection 3C, if you threaten to damage the disabled or handicapped's property, it is attempted murder. That adds another subsection. See, there are laws, and we will stand by them. Section 4, Title 2. There should be Title 2, Section 4. In a criminal prosecution, the accused, if the disabled and or handicapped is the determination of the responsibility towards a criminal act itself, must be determined on the disability. All the evidence requested by the accused or defendant is not allowed. That is attempted murder on those. Whether you wear a badge or not, you are responsible. You took that oath that you would uphold the law. Law enforcement means to uphold the laws. Title 3, Section 1, when an accused or an inmate who is disabled and or handicapped suffers damages to their limbs, those involved are to be considered heinous crimes, and that's what they are. You know why they're heinous crimes? Because usually it's to take, some in law enforcement uphold the laws are not very, very truthful to that oath. Some uphold themselves. That's those selfish intents. The thing is, with heinous criminal acts, that is prejudice, is extreme discrimination. There's abstism and distism, which is a discrimination and a prejudice against the disabled persons. And people, when you discriminate against somebody because they're in a wheelchair, that's hatred and contempt, and that is a hate crime. Not you committed one hate, the son's been committed against them, but you hated someone because of a disability instead of who the person truly was. Understand there's laws. This one will stick. Let me tell you something. Max Cleveland gave up 3 limbs, and he had the wheelchair. He was our Attorney General in the state of Georgia. But let me tell you something. The discrimination can be filed with the Department of Justice. They're good people. The ADA, they're great people. The thing is, you have to love life, and you have to fight for every life, not just your own. Yours you fight for first. And John Lewis once told me, and we talked about this before his cancer got so severe, that the march to Alabama was a hard one. And the thing is, the march we do for ourselves is not just for ourselves, it is in the beginning, because people will walk over us to the end of time. Until we stand up, we keep getting up, and we keep moving forward. That's what a march is about. The thing is, when we march for ourselves, we take others and we uphold others. Because why? Others have been discriminated against themselves. People say civil rights, civil liberties, they're just not for one color. They're for all of us. Because why? In each way, somebody has something of hatred and contempt towards another. They group us off. And that's for the disabled, but the thing is, those who are more vulnerable need to know. The march we have to do is for ourselves first, before we can stand for others. And that's to love one another, and to love thy neighbor as thyself. It doesn't say the color of this or that. What it says is to love one another. If you read the teachings, and you go back to Hebrew, which was our beginning of the teachings, first written in Hebrew, to know the most important lesson to know about human life is to be loved and to love one another, because we can't, if we don't love another, then what? Christ is not in us. Do we know for absolute? What we do know is how we've been treated. The thing is, to live deliberately is to dream. To dream of what? To dream of being a homeowner, to be a mom, a dad, to be good to one another, to uphold what our Constitution was built for and made for by our founding fathers. Do you know, without freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, there is no freedom of religion? Oh, no, there's not. What if one down the street don't like what you say in your building? You're not safe then, are you? That's why it's called a free society in our country. What we must understand is, and this is of great importance. I've written many pages on law, religion, theology, which is religion, teachings, religious teachings. I was taught to follow through. No matter how many steps you had to go, you keep going through. No matter how many times they knock you down, if it's in the truth, then you stick with it. You know why? Because they'll take everything and they'll lie. But it catches up to them, and so does the lies. Because people will catch on to it. It's not who you represent, it's what you represent and within yourself. You know, it's not who you poison, it's what you poison with. The thing is, it's not who you put away. It's no to what you stand up for. It's not one color over the other. It's not black or white, red, yellow. What it is human beings. That's what Christ died for, we hope. And that's what it says in the scripture. The thing is, it's not what you can take from me. You know, I don't live in a forest with no light. I lived in the woods with rays of sunshine. And that's okay, because I see my rays of sunshine daily. Not what you can take away from me anymore. You've stripped me of everything. But what haven't you done? You can't have my dignity. Why? Because I'm decent. You're indecent. That's on you. But I'm decent. I live by what I think ethics, morals, and values. Not what else you can lie and steal and what you can cut me down with. Because you know what? I can prove who I am. It is you who cannot prove who you are. The thing is, we must understand, to live deliberately, David said they sucked the marrow out of trees. The pine beetles in the state of Georgia got extremely bad. What did they do? They dusted them, didn't they? Killed them out. When they sucked the life out of us, what did they do to them? Behind bars, right? You know why? They've sucked the life out of a human. They've taken that life. You know why? For that self-gratification. They needed that one little high, that one little satisfaction needed to be made. Self-greed instead of likeness of mind, love of one another, and to see another valued as within ourselves, but that other person that we're supposed to love and say, that's what we go by. It's not the pew, it's not the building, it's not being Christ, it's living as we were taught Christ lived. There was only one Christ, because we're in the image of God, which was of imperfectness, male and female. The thing is, it's not who's perfect, because we're not. But it's to love one another enough to put no man under. And we stand by one another in truth, but you lie for another. You're no better than them, and you haven't upheld anyone, have you? Including the law. That's what law enforcement's about. That's what justice is about. In the 1700s, there was a doctor that came up with jurisprudence. Why that? Because for justice, there has to be a physiological healing within the mind. When there's damage, or we have to understand physiological healing comes in many forms. But what that means is, without the Constitution, without jurisprudence, there wasn't the Constitution. The understanding is constitutional law is a mean one. To understand is, our life mattered to the founding fathers. They founded this country so you could live on. The thing is, do you want the country to live on? Are they perfect? No. But people give up their life, and they didn't run. I had family as far back as Normandy, France, that just passed away a couple of years, last year or two. The thing is, they took the first Purple Heart on the sand. But did they? Or did they take the first real heart when they lost somebody they loved, like the person loves somebody they lost?